Every day, you choose between two roads, the easy one that promises pleasure now, and the hard one that promises something greater later. 24 centuries ago, a Greek thinker turned that choice into one of the most famous stories ever told, and he believed that choosing the right word, like choosing the right path, could change a human life. Think for a moment about the last time you chose the wrong word and watched a conversation go terribly wrong. A single misplaced word can start a fight, end a friendship, or change how someone sees you forever. Now imagine a philosopher who believed that the precise meaning of words was one of the most important things in all of human life. He spent his career teaching people to see the subtle differences between words that seem to mean the same thing. His name was Prodicus, and he understood something about language that we are still learning today. We live our whole lives swimming in words, yet we rarely stop to weigh them carefully. Prodicus spent his life insisting that this weighing was one of the most important things we could do. Prodicus was born around the year 465 before the Common Era on the small Greek island of Ceos. This island sat in the sparkling waters of the Aegean Sea, not far from the great city of Athens. Like several other brilliant thinkers of his time, Prodicus would leave his small island home to seek fame and fortune in the wider Greek world. He belonged to a remarkable generation of teachers who were transforming how people thought about knowledge, language, and success. These traveling teachers were known as the Sophists, and Prodicus became one of the most respected among them. His journey from a tiny island to the heart of the Greek world mirrors the ambition of his age, and few travelers ever carried a sharper mind than his. Sophists were a new kind of intellectual, appearing in ancient Greece during a time of tremendous change. They traveled from city to city, offering to teach young men the skills they needed to succeed in public life, especially the art of persuasive speaking. In the bustling democracies of Greece, where a good speech could win power and influence, these skills were incredibly valuable. The Sophists charged fees for their teaching, sometimes very high fees, and the best of them grew wealthy and famous. Prodicus was among the most successful, known throughout Greece for his learning and his skill. To hire one of them was to buy a ticket to power in the fierce competition of public life, and Prodicus was among the most sought-after teachers of them all. What set Prodicus apart from the other Sophists was his special fascination with language itself. He became famous for his study of the precise and correct use of words, an art the Greeks called the correctness of names. Prodicus believed that many words which appear to be synonyms, meaning exactly the same thing, actually carry subtle but important differences in meaning. He devoted himself to identifying these fine distinctions, teaching his students to use each word with perfect precision. This made him, in a sense, one of the world's first true students of language and meaning. Where others taught the flashy tricks of persuasion, he taught the quiet discipline of precision. It was a subtler art, but in some ways a deeper one. To understand what Prodicus was doing, consider words that we often treat as identical twins. Think of the difference between joy and pleasure, or between courage and boldness, or between wanting and desiring. Prodicus argued that these words, though similar, each capture a slightly different shade of meaning and feeling. To use them interchangeably, he believed, was to think sloppily and to misunderstand the world. By teaching people to distinguish carefully between such words, he was teaching them to think more clearly and precisely about everything. Once you begin noticing these shades of meaning, you can never quite unsee them again. The world of words becomes richer, sharper, and far more interesting. Language, seen his way, becomes a set of finely tuned instruments rather than blunt tools. This obsession with the exact meaning of words might sound like a small and technical matter at first, but Prodicus understood a truth that runs surprisingly deep into the heart of human thought. The words we use shape the way we see reality, and confused language leads to confused thinking. When we blur the distinction between similar words, we blur our understanding of the things they describe. In sharpening the meaning of words, Prodicus was really trying to sharpen the human mind itself, one careful distinction at a time. Sloppy words, he warned, quietly corrupt the very thoughts we build upon them. To clean up our language is, in a sense, to clean up our minds. He treated each careless word as a small crack in the foundation of clear thought. Even the great philosopher Socrates showed genuine respect for the work of Prodicus. In several of Plato's dialogues, Socrates mentions Prodicus with admiration, sometimes even calling himself a student of the master of words. Whether this was fully serious or partly playful, it reveals that Prodicus was taken seriously by the greatest minds of his age. His careful attention to the meanings of words influenced the way Socrates and others pursued their philosophical questions. In this way, his passion for precise language helped shape the very foundations of Western philosophy. To earn the respect of Socrates was no small thing in the intellectual world of Athens. It marks Prodicus as a thinker of genuine and lasting importance. He was not only a student of words, but also a bold and original thinker about the gods. In an age when questioning the gods could be extremely dangerous, he proposed a startling theory about where religion came from. He suggested that ancient people had come to worship the things that were most useful and beneficial to their survival. The sun, the moon, rivers, bread, wine, and other life-giving things were treated as divine because human beings depended on them so completely. This was one of the earliest attempts to explain religion through natural human experience. He turned his sharp and questioning mind toward the greatest mystery of all, and what he dared to suggest would have shocked many of his contemporaries. Let us pause to appreciate how daring this theory really was for its time. Prodicus was suggesting that the gods might not be mysterious supernatural beings at all, but rather human ideas that grew out of gratitude and need. According to his view, early humans looked at the things that sustained their lives and elevated them to the status of gods. Bread became associated with a goddess of grain, and wine with a god of the vine, because these gifts were so precious. It was a strikingly rational and human-centered way of explaining the origins of belief. In his eyes, the divine was not descending from above, but rising up from human need. It was a breathtaking reversal of how people usually imagined the gods. In his telling, the gods were born from the human heart's deep sense of thankfulness. Such a natural explanation of religion placed Prodicus among the boldest thinkers of the ancient world. He was daring to look at one of humanity's deepest mysteries and offer an explanation rooted in ordinary human experience rather than divine revelation. Ideas like these were genuinely risky in ancient Greece, where impiety could lead to serious punishment. Yet Prodicus pursued the truth as he saw it, seeking to understand religion as a natural human phenomenon. His theory would echo through the centuries in the work of later thinkers who studied the origins of belief. To think such thoughts aloud in ancient Greece took real intellectual courage. He was willing to follow his reasoning even into dangerous territory. But the achievement for which Prodicus became most famous was a beautiful and enduring story. It is known as the Choice of Heracles, or sometimes Heracles at the Crossroads, and it has inspired people for over 2,000 years. In this tale, Prodicus imagined the great hero Heracles as a young man standing at a literal fork in the road of life. There he must make the most important decision any person ever faces, the choice of what kind of life to live. It is a story so powerful that its image still shapes how we think about our choices today. It has been retold, repainted, and reimagined in every century since he first spoke it. Few short stories have ever cast so long a shadow. To this day, its simple image shapes how we picture any difficult decision. In the story, the young Heracles sits alone, wondering which path in life he should take. As he ponders, two women of great size approach him, each representing a different way of living. The first woman is beautiful in a soft and alluring way, dressed to attract attention and promising every kind of delight. She represents the path of pleasure and ease, and she offers Heracles a life free of hardship, struggle, and difficulty. Her offer is tempting, painting a picture of endless comfort and immediate gratification. Everything about her invites the young hero to take the easy and comfortable road. She is temptation itself, given a beautiful human face. Her beauty is real, but it conceals the emptiness of a life without struggle. That first woman makes her case with seductive and persuasive words. "Follow me," she tells Heracles, "and you will never taste hardship or know the meaning of struggle. You will enjoy every pleasure, avoid every difficulty, and let others do the hard work of the world." She promises the shortest and sweetest road to happiness, a life of feasting, rest, and enjoyment. To a young man standing at the beginning of his journey, her words carry a powerful and understandable appeal. Her voice is honey, and her promises ask nothing of him but surrender. It is the eternal whisper of the path of least resistance. Behind her sweetness lies a quiet warning that Prodicus deeply wants us to hear. Comfort, he reminds us, is not the same thing as a life worth living. Then the second woman speaks, and she offers something very different indeed. She is beautiful too, but in a dignified and noble way, modest and clear-eyed rather than showy. She represents the path of virtue, and she does not promise an easy life at all. Instead, she tells Heracles the honest truth, that nothing truly good and admirable comes to human beings without effort and hardship. Her path is steep and difficult, demanding courage, discipline, and sacrifice along every step of the way. She offers no flattery and hides none of the cost of the road she describes. In her honesty lies a strange and compelling kind of beauty. She speaks not to his appetites, but to his sense of what is truly worthy. Her steadiness stands in quiet contrast to the other woman's easy charm. Stern though the words of the second woman are, they carry a deeper and lasting promise. If you want to be truly loved and honored, she tells Heracles, you must earn it through your own good deeds and hard work. If you want the rewards of friendship, of a strong body, of a wise mind, you must labor for them with patience and effort. She offers no shortcuts and no easy pleasures, only the deep satisfaction that comes from a life well lived. Her promise is harder to accept, but it is honest and real. She asks more of him than the first woman, yet she respects him enough to tell the truth. And truth, however hard, has a dignity that pleasure cannot match. In choosing her, a person chooses to become someone rather than merely to feel something. At the heart of this story lies one of the oldest and most important questions in all of human life. Will you choose the easy path of immediate pleasure or the hard path of lasting virtue? Prodicus captured in a simple, unforgettable image the eternal struggle between what feels good now and what is truly good in the long run. Every human being who has ever lived has faced some version of this choice at the crossroads. The genius of the story is that it makes this abstract moral question feel vivid, personal, and real. We all know deep down which choice we admire and which we are tempted by. That quiet tension is exactly what makes the story so unforgettable. It is the quiet war waged inside every human heart, in every generation. The tale of Heracles at the crossroads was destined to have an extraordinary afterlife. It captured the imagination of countless generations, becoming one of the most retold and repainted stories in Western culture. Artists across the centuries have depicted the hero standing between the two women, torn between pleasure and virtue. Writers and moralists have returned to it again and again as a perfect illustration of moral choice. Through this single story, Prodicus gave humanity a lasting symbol of one of life's deepest dilemmas. Painters, poets, and preachers have all returned to this single crossroads again and again. It became one of the great enduring images of Western culture. Its power lies in how perfectly it captures a choice we all recognize. It is worth asking why this particular story has resonated so powerfully for so long. Perhaps it is because the choice it describes is one that never goes away, no matter how much the world changes. In every age, human beings are tempted by the easy road and challenged by the hard one. The story does not simply tell us which path to choose, but forces us to confront the choice ourselves. It respects our freedom while reminding us that our choices shape the people we become. The story hands the decision back to us, refusing to make it easy or automatic. In that respect, it treats us as free and responsible beings. We are left standing at the fork ourselves, the choice pressed gently into our hands. We cannot read it without silently asking what we ourselves would choose. Prodicus, through this tale, was doing something that great teachers have always done. He was using the power of story to teach a moral lesson that no dry argument could convey as effectively. A logical proof about virtue might convince the mind, but a vivid story reaches the heart and stays in the memory. By dramatizing the choice as a meeting between a young hero and two living women, he made an abstract idea impossible to forget. This shows a deep understanding of how human beings actually learn and grow. A good story, he understood, can carry a truth deeper than any lecture ever could. That is why his tale has outlived nearly anything else he wrote. A picture painted in the imagination, he knew, can outlast 1,000 arguments. As a teacher, Prodicus enjoyed a career remarkably successful and lucrative by the standards of his day. He was famous for charging high fees for his lectures and courses, and he grew wealthy from his teaching. It is said that he offered different versions of his lectures at different prices, so that students could choose how much wisdom they wished to purchase. His reputation drew eager students from across the Greek world, all hoping to learn the secrets of his art. Clearly, the ancient world placed a high value on the skills that Prodicus had to offer. People were willing to pay dearly for the clarity of thought that he offered. In the marketplace of ideas, his precision commanded a high price. His success proved that careful thinking could be prized as highly as clever speech. Another concern set him apart from many other thinkers of his time as well. He seems to have had a somewhat melancholy or serious view of human life, thinking deeply about suffering and death. Some ancient sources suggest that he reflected on the hardships of existence and the question of what makes life worth living. This thoughtful, sometimes somber temperament may have shaped his interest in the serious moral questions found in the Choice of Heracles. He was not merely a clever wordsmith, but a thinker concerned with the deepest matters of human existence. There was a gravity to him, a sense that life's questions were not to be taken lightly. Perhaps that seriousness is what gave his moral tale its lasting depth. Like other sophists, Prodicus sometimes served his city and others as a diplomat and ambassador. His skill with words and his impressive reputation made him a natural choice for delicate missions between cities. On these journeys, he would often take the opportunity to give public lectures and demonstrations of his learning. In this way, he spread his ideas and his fame across the Greek world while also serving practical political purposes. His life shows how the greatest sophists moved easily between the worlds of thought and action. He moved with ease between the library and the assembly, the lecture and the negotiation. In him, the life of the mind and the life of the city were joined. Wherever he traveled, his words opened doors and gathered eager listeners. One of the intriguing puzzles of ancient philosophy is the relationship between Prodicus and Socrates. Socrates spoke of Prodicus with what seems like genuine warmth and respect, unlike his often critical attitude toward other sophists. Some scholars believe that Prodicus genuinely influenced the young Socrates and the development of his method. The careful attention to definitions and precise meaning of words, so central to Socratic philosophy, may owe something to the teaching of Prodicus. In this way, a bridge may connect the sophist from chaos to the father of Western philosophy. It hints that the roots of philosophy itself may reach back to this careful lover of words. A quiet thread may bind the island sophist to the greatest of questioners.
Sadly, like so many thinkers of the ancient world, the writings of Prodicus have been almost entirely lost. We know his ideas mainly through the reports and summaries of other ancient writers. The famous story of the Choice of Heracles survives because the historian Xenophon recorded a version of it in his own work. Without these second-hand accounts, we would know almost nothing about this fascinating thinker. It is a humbling reminder of how much ancient wisdom has vanished into the silence of the passing centuries. So much of what he thought and wrote has slipped forever beyond our reach. What remains is a handful of precious echoes, and we are lucky to have even these. History has been a careless keeper of the treasures entrusted to it.
Through these fragments, however, the importance of Prodicus shines clearly through. He was a pioneer in the study of language, one of the first to explore the subtle relationship between words and meaning. He was a bold theorist about the origins of religion, offering a natural explanation for one of humanity's greatest mysteries. And he was a masterful teacher of morality, whose story of Heracles still speaks to us today. Across all of these areas, he was ahead of his time in remarkable ways. In each of these fields, he planted seeds that would take centuries to fully flower. Few thinkers have reached so far ahead of their own time. What survives is enough to show a mind of rare originality and reach. Even in ruins, the outline of a remarkable intellect is unmistakable. His interest in the precise meaning of words feels strikingly modern to us today. In our own time, we understand that clear thinking depends on clear language, and that confused words lead to confused ideas. Fields from law to science to philosophy depend on using words with careful precision. Prodicus grasped this essential truth thousands of years before it became a formal part of how we think. His ancient obsession with distinguishing between similar words was a genuine intellectual breakthrough. Every lawyer parsing a contract and every scientist defining a term walks in his footsteps. His ancient concern has become one of the pillars of modern thought. To name a thing rightly, he taught, is already half the work of understanding it. A natural theory of religion also places him among the earliest pioneers of a way of thinking that would flourish much later. Centuries after his death, scholars would study the origins of religion as a human and historical phenomenon. They would ask how and why human beings first came to believe in gods, much as Prodicus had done. In proposing that gods arose from human gratitude toward useful things, he anticipated ideas that would not become widespread for 2,000 years. He was, in this respect, a thinker far ahead of his age. He glimpsed, long before others, that belief itself has a natural human history. It was a way of thinking centuries ahead of the world around him. He treated belief not as a fixed truth, but as something with a human story. Yet it is the Choice of Heracles that remains his most powerful and lasting gift to humanity. The image of a person standing at the crossroads, choosing between pleasure and virtue, has never lost its force. It speaks to something universal in the human condition, the constant tension between what is easy and what is worthwhile. Every time we choose the harder right over the easier wrong, we are living out the story that Prodicus told. In this sense, his ancient tale is being rewritten in countless lives every single day. As long as human beings face temptation, his crossroads will never lose its meaning. It is less an ancient story than a mirror held up to every life. Every honest struggle against temptation is, in a sense, his story retold.
When we look back at Prodicus across the great distance of time, we see a mind of a remarkable range and depth. He cared about the tiniest details of language and the grandest questions of morality and religion. He could split hairs over the difference between two similar words and also tell a story that has moved hearts for millennia. This combination of precision and wisdom, of the technical and the profound, is the mark of a truly original thinker. He reminds us that attention to small things and concern for great things can live together in one mind. To hold both the small and the vast within a single mind is a rare and beautiful gift. In Prodicus, the grammarian and the moralist were one and the same. It is this union of the exact and the profound that makes him unforgettable. So the next time you stand at a crossroads in your own life, torn between the easy path and the hard one, remember the philosopher from the island of chaos. Remember that Prodicus, more than 2,000 years ago, understood the choice you were facing and captured it in an unforgettable story. He teaches us that words matter, that clear thinking matters, and above all, that the choices we make at life's crossroads shape the people we become. His voice reaches across the centuries, asking you the same question he asked of Heracles. Which road, it whispers, will you choose? That question is not locked in the past, but waiting quietly at your own feet. And how you answer it, day after day, will slowly become your life.
Prodicus of Ceos lived nearly 2,500 years ago, and though almost all of his writings have vanished into the silence of history, this remarkable sophist left behind ideas that still shape how we think about language, religion, and the choices that define our lives. He was one of the world's first true students of language, fascinated by the subtle differences between words that seem to mean the same thing. And he understood a truth we are still learning today, that clear words make for clear thoughts, and that confused language leads to confused thinking. He was a bold and original thinker about the gods, daring to suggest that religion arose when early human beings elevated the useful things of the world, the sun and the rivers and the bread and the wine, into objects of worship out of gratitude and need. But above all, he gave humanity the unforgettable story of Heracles at the crossroads, the young hero forced to choose between a woman offering a life of easy pleasure and a woman offering the harder, nobler path of virtue. An image so powerful that it has inspired artists, writers, and ordinary people for over 2,000 years. Even the great Socrates spoke of him with warmth and respect, and the careful attention to the meaning of words that lies at the heart of philosophy may owe something to this thinker from a small Greek island. If the story of Prodicus has stirred something in you, then let it remind you that the words you choose shape the way you think, that the deepest mysteries are worth questioning with an open and curious mind, and that every day you stand at your own crossroads, choosing between what is easy and what is truly worthwhile. So choose your words with care, choose your path with courage, and remember the philosopher who taught humanity across all the long centuries that the right word and the right road can change everything.